Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Dr. Fuad Hamid Rai, and today I'll be discussing with you vitamin D and calcium and the functions, sources, deficiency signs. How do we prevent deficiency of vitamin D and calcium and their daily requirements? You can stop the presentation over here and go through the learning objectives for today's session. As you know, vitamins are of prime importance for the healthy functioning of our body. Vitamins are a class of our organic compounds categorized as essential nutrients, and they fall in the category of micronutrients. Vitamins do not yield energy but enable the body to use other nutrients. Body is generally unable to synthesize them, therefore must be provided by food. There are two groups of vitamins. One are the fat soluble and the water soluble. The fat soluble are A, D, E and K, and the water soluble vitamins are B group vitamins and vitamin C. Each vitamin has a specific function, and deficiency of any particular vitamin may lead to different kinds of deficiency diseases. For vitamin E, no deficiency disease is yet known. However, minimum intake for maintenance of health has been determined, but optimum intake is still speculative. Now we come to our today's topic, that is vitamin D. As far as vitamin D is concerned, the nutritionally important forms of vitamin D in man are calciferol, which is vitamin D2, and cholecalciferol, which is vitamin D3. Calciferol may be derived by irradiation of the plant sterol, ergosterol. You can see the formula over here. Cholecalciferol is the naturally occurring preformed vitamin D, which is found in animal fats and fish liver oils. It is also derived from exposure to ultraviolet rays of sunlight, which convert the cholesterol in the skin to vitamin D. Vitamin D is stored largely in the fat depots. Before I discuss the functions with you, I would like to mention over here that major advances have been made in recent years in our understanding of the metabolism of vitamin D in the body. And it is now known that vitamin D by itself is metabolically inactive unless it undergoes endogenous transformation into several active metabolites, first in the liver and later in the kidney. These metabolites are bound to specific transport proteins and are carried to target tissues, that is the bone and intestine. It has been proposed that vitamin D should be regarded as a kidney hormone because it does not meet the classic definition of a vitamin, that is a substance which must be obtained by dietary means because of lack of capacity in the human body to synthesize it. In fact, vitamin D3 is not a dietary requirement at all. In conditions of adequate sunlight, it can be synthesized in the body in adequate amounts by simple exposure to sunlight, even for 5 minutes a day. Now coming to the functions. Functions of vitamin D and its metabolites. As far as the intestines are concerned, it promotes intestinal absorption of calcium and phosphorus. In bones, it stimulates normal mineralization, enhances bone reabsorption, affects collagen maturation. In kidneys, it increases tubular reabsorption of phosphate, variable effect on reabsorption of calcium, and its other functions includes it permits normal growth. Sources, as far as sources of vitamin D are concerned, I already mentioned that this is one micronutrient which may even not require food supplementation. If we are properly exposed to sun rays for particular period of times, so we can convert cholecalciferol into vitamin D. Vitamin D is unique. It is unique because it is derived from both sunlight and foods. When we are discussing sunlight, here I would like to mention that vitamin D is synthesized by the body by the action of ultraviolet rays of sunlight on 7-dehydrocholesterol, which is stored in large abundance in the skin. Exposure to UV rays is critical. These can be filtered off by air pollution. Dark-skinned races such as Negroes also suffer from this disadvantage because black skin can filter off up to 95% of UV rays. The second source are foods. I've mentioned a few over here like liver, egg yolk, butter and cheese, and some species of fish liver oil. But going into a little bit of detail, vitamin D occurs only in foods of animal origin. Like I've already mentioned, liver, egg yolk, butter and cheese, and some species of fish contain useful amounts. Fish liver oils, although not considered to be a food, are the richest source of vitamin D. Human milk has been shown to contain considerable amounts of water-soluble vitamin D sulfate. Other sources of vitamin D are foods artificially fortified with vitamin D such as milk, margarine, vanaspati ghee, and infant foods. Dietary sources of vitamin D may also include shark liver oil and fish fat, in addition to the sources which I have already mentioned. This is just a picture to give you a brief overview that in addition to the foods which I have already mentioned, there are also some foods over here which are of plant origin, which also give us vitamin D. In this slide, you can see 7 warning signs of vitamin D deficiency, which include aching bones, muscle weakness, depression, head sweats, chronic health problems. If one gets constantly tired, his or her vitamin D level needs to be checked, and then dark skin. Vitamin D deficiency diseases are divided into two components. One are the diseases in children and the other in adults. In children, we have rickets, and pot belly and bowing of legs is synonymous with rickets. So if you see a child with pot belly and bowing of legs, you can immediately make a diagnosis that this child has rickets. And in adults, vitamin D deficiency causes osteomalacia. A little bit more about rickets, that vitamin D deficiency leads to rickets, which is usually observed in young children between the age of 6 months and 2 years. There is reduced calcification of the growing bones. The disease is characterized by growth failure, bone deformity, muscular hypotonia, tetany, and convulsions due to a hypocalcemia. There is an elevated concentration of alkaline phosphatase in the serum. The bony deformities include curved legs, deformed pelvis, pigeon chest, Harrison sulcus, rickety rosary, kyphoscoliosis, etc. The milestone of development such as walking and teething, are delayed. While talking about osteomalacia, I would like to mention that in adults, vitamin D deficiency may result in osteomalacia, which occurs mainly in women, especially during pregnancy and lactation when requirements of vitamin D are increased. Both rickets and osteomalacia are frequently reported in Pakistan, although they do not appear to be a problem of public health importance. In the world as a whole, their prevalence has decreased or declined as a result of changes in social customs and the expansion of mother and child health services, leading to better care and feeding of infants and children. In the developing countries today, rickets as a menace to child health is overshadowed by the prevalence of protein energy malnutrition. Over here, you can see 10 signs that you may need more vitamin D. You can just go through them, have a quick glance, or you can stop the presentation over here and go through them. While talking about prevention, health education is of prime importance. Preventive measures include educating parents to expose their children regularly to sunlight. Then periodic dosing or prophylaxis is required of young children with vitamin D. And then vitamin D fortification of food, especially milk, is of prime importance. Some industrialized countries still carry out the last measure. Periodic dosing and education appear to be the most practical approaches in developing countries like ours. Then vitamin D is stored in the body in fatty tissues and in the liver, and excessive intake is harmful and may result in anorexia, nausea, vomiting, thirst and drowsiness. So you've got to make sure that you do not take excessive vitamin D. The patient may, a person who has taken excessive vitamin D may lapse into coma, while cardiac arrhythmias and renal failure may occur. The effects are due to hypercalcemia induced by increased intestinal absorption and mobilization of calcium from bone. Recent literature containing warning against the administration of amounts of vitamin D that greatly exceed accepted requirement levels is of prime importance. This warning applies to pregnant women also, since manifestations of hypocalcemia may develop in utero. As far as the daily requirements of vitamin D are concerned, a specific recommendation of 400 international units or 10 micrograms is suggested. Although 200 international units is also fine, but I would say the best recommendation is to take 400 international units. The expert committee of WHO emphasizes importance of outdoor physical activities as a means of achieving adequate vitamin D status in a typical country like Pakistan. However, under minimal exposure to sunlight, particularly in certain urban groups like 1 to 2 years old children, a specific recommendation of a daily supplement of 400 international units is suggested. As you know, these days we have a pandemic of COVID-19, and different studies have been conducted, and one of the studies has shown that COVID-19 patients with severe vitamin D deficiency are twice as likely to experience severe complications, including death. So in such cases, how to get more vitamin D from your food is some fish, for example salmon or light canned tuna, eggs, vitamin D fortified products like cow's milk for children 12 months and older, yogurt, cereals and some juices are recommended. Vitamin D supplements are another way to help children get enough vitamin D every day. I think by now you would have become very well versed that what is the importance of vitamin D, what body functions does it control, what are the different signs and symptoms which show that there is a deficiency of vitamin D, and what are the foods which we should take to prevent this deficiency, and the kind of exposure we need to have to sunlight to reduce or to prevent vitamin D deficiency. And then I've also discussed with you the daily requirement. Now we move to the second part of today's discussion, and that is calcium. Calcium is a major mineral element of the body. It constitutes 1.5 to 2% of the body weight of an adult human. An average adult body contains about 1200 gram of calcium, of which over 98% is found in the bones. The amount of calcium in the blood is usually about 10 milligram per deciliter. The developing fetus requires about 30 grams of calcium. Therefore, there is a dynamic equilibrium between the calcium in the blood and that in the skeleton. This equilibrium is maintained by the interaction of vitamin D, parathyroid hormone, and probably calcitonin. You can just go through it. I've already discussed this with you. As far as intracellular calcium is concerned, it is in cytosol, in mitochondria, other microsomes, is regulated by pumps, and the serum level of calcium is closely regulated with a normal total calcium of 2 to 2.75 millimoles per liter, and a normal ionized calcium of 1.1 to 1.4 millimoles per liter. Little bit about calcium metabolism. Role of calcium has been shown of prime importance in multiple biological functions, which include cell signaling, neural transmission, muscle function, blood coagulation. Then enzymatic cofactors require it, membrane and cytoskeletal functions require it. Calcium metabolism is also seen in secretions and in biomineralization. In this picture, you can see a few foods for vegetarians which contain calcium, which are rich sources of calcium. So while you are looking at this slide, I would also like to mention a few functions. Ionized calcium is in the plasma, has many vital functions, including formation of bones and teeth, coagulation of blood, contraction of muscles, cardiac action, milk production, relay of electrical and chemical messages that arrive at a cell surface membrane to the biochemical machinery within the cell, keeping the membranes of cells intact, and in the metabolism of enzymes and hormones. It also plays a crucial role in the transformation of light to electrical impulses in the retina. In short, I would say the calcium ion controls many life processes ranging from muscle contraction to cell division. Further discussing the calcium metabolism, I would like to highlight that absorption takes place in duodenum and proximal jejunum, and then there is active transport across cells, and then calcium binding proteins are synthesized in response to the action of 1,25 dihydroxy cholecalciferol, which is vitamin D3, and then parathyroid hormone also increases intestinal absorption of calcium. Absorption of calcium is inhibited by, this is also very important. You need to know that what are the things which inhibit the absorption of calcium, and these are oxalates, salts of oxalic acid, phytates, salts of phytic acid found in grain, soybeans, then phosphates, formation of insoluble salts, sodium and caffeine. Those individuals who are taking a lot of caffeine, in them it is seen that calcium absorption is inhibited and they have hypocalcemia. Talking about deficiency, what does hypocalcemia lead to? It can lead to tetany, increased neuromuscular excitability, and neurological disorders. It can result, could be a result of vitamin D deficiency. So vitamin D and calcium, why we've taken up both these things in our discussion today, that increase or decrease of either of them has an effect on the function or the absorption of the other. And then it could be a result of vitamin D deficiency, hypothyroidism, renal insufficiency, and we've already discussed the symptoms, rickets in children and osteomalacia in adults. But if high quantities of calcium are taken, it could be toxic. Hypercalcemia can lead to toxicity, which normally does not occur, and this could lead to hyperparathyroidism or vitamin D intoxication or cancer. In this diagram, you can see a few of the foods which are rich in calcium. Again, a little bit about the absorption of calcium. 20 to 30% of dietary calcium is absorbed. Not all of it is absorbed. Absorption is enhanced by vitamin D. So, as I already mentioned to you, that if there is a deficiency of vitamin D, there would be a deficiency of calcium, and vice versa. So, if there is proper vitamin D in your body, you have according to the daily requirements, so you would have proper absorption of calcium, and absorption is decreased in presence of phytates and oxalates. I've already discussed it with you. Then these are some plant-based sources of calcium. You can just go through the picture, or you can later on stop the presentation over here and or the video and go through all these things. As far as the recommended daily amount of calcium is concerned, in children up to age 11, 1200 milligram per day is required. From age 11 to 24, 800 milligram. And for normal adults from age 24 and above, the daily requirements varies from 500 to 600 milligram per day. But in a woman after menopause, 1500 milligram per day is required to prevent osteoporosis. So this is very important. As a clinician, you need to know what are the daily recommended requirements of calcium. With this, I conclude today's discussion. While concluding, I would say that vitamins and minerals are very important nutrients which control a lot of our body functions, and deficiency of any or more can lead to impaired bodily function. And just simple measures mentioned which I have discussed with you can help us to achieve a healthy lifestyle. Vitamin D and calcium, if taken in appropriate quantities, will help all of us keep healthy. With this, I end today's session. But before I thank you, I want to share a thought for today, and that is that big goals can create a fear of failure, but lack of goals guarantees it. So always have goals, always have big goals. Or if you don't want to have big goals but still have goals, it should not be there that you don't have goals. And inshallah, I pray for you, and I believe that if you have goals, you will inshallah achieve them. With this, I thank you all, and if any one of you have any questions, you are most welcome to ask. This is a picture in which with the previous batch of students, we went to a government school where we examined children with vitamin and mineral deficiencies. Thank you very much all. Allah Hafiz.